Dear Greg, the other day the newspaper wasn't delivered on time to our house, and my husband Blaine blew up. He ranted about how people are irresponsible, they can't be relied on, and a great deal more. Later in the day he felt a little sheepish about overreacting, and he said, "I don't know why I get so upset over something like that. I suppose it's really not that big a deal." I suggested that he just wasn't feeling loved, and he actually got irritated. He said, "What does feeling loved have to do with a newspaper? You're always trying to make it about real love. That's ridiculous. Sometimes you just get irritated because something gets in your way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anger is just a natural response sometimes."
I realize it really can look like a far stretch to connect real love and a reaction to a late newspaper. But it's not. In fact, they're intimately related. Imagine that you're standing in a doorway talking to a friend, and as I walk by, I lightly bump you from behind. Turning to see who bumped you, you wish me a good morning and turn back to your conversation. Now imagine that the next day, you lie out in the sun all day long and get a severe sunburn all over your back. The next morning, again, you're standing in a doorway talking to a friend, and as I walk by, I bump you from behind. Immediately, you experience an intense pain and nearly jump out of your skin. It would be very natural at this point for you to turn to me and say that I caused your pain. But is that the truth? No, not at all. You caused your pain by foolishly lying out in the sun all day. And I played a very small part in the incident by touching your back. In fact, we proved that I couldn't have caused your pain. If touching your back caused your pain, you would have felt that pain both times I touched you, but you didn't. What was the difference on the two occasions? You, not me. I was guilty only of touching your back, which would have meant absolutely nothing to you if you hadn't been sunburned. Without enough real love, we lack a sufficient supply of the one thing we need more than anything else in the world to be happy. I cannot overemphasize that. Without it, we are empty and afraid. Emotionally and spiritually, we are literally in pain almost all the time. In that condition, it takes virtually nothing at all to make our pain intolerable. Any inconvenience becomes enough to push us over the edge. An unkind comment, a promise unfulfilled, heavy traffic, or having to wait on something we want, like a newspaper. The newspaper boy just reached out and touched Blaine's sunburn. If Blaine had been filled with sufficient real love, the newspaper's being late would have meant nothing to him. This is not a theory. It's been proven now by thousands and thousands of people who have written and called and confirmed the truth of it. They've reported that as they have felt more loved, the things that used to irritate them just don't matter anymore because they already have what they want most, pretty powerful stuff. It really is about real love. With it, nothing else matters. Without it, nothing else is enough. And then so many events become intolerable wounds. Now, you notice that Blaine became irritated when you told him it was about real love. Somehow he heard, whether you meant to say it or not is irrelevant, that he shouldn't be angry. He responded that anger is natural. Well, he's right. It is natural, but so is snake venom. And both are deadly. Just because it's natural doesn't make it productive. Am I saying that Blaine or anyone else shouldn't be angry or frustrated? Of course not. When I talk about the dangers of anger, people often hear me say that they don't have a right to be angry. Sure they do, but they also have a right to stick beans up their nose, and the two activities are actually comparable. We have a right to do both, but why in the world would we want to when the results are uniformly awful? I'm not saying people shouldn't be angry. I am saying that anger and frustration are always selfish, unproductive, and harmful, and that as we become more filled with real love, those conditions will vanish. Really, it's always about real love.